that's the hope here. A bit of what inspired this particular panel discussion would be some of you guys know that we hip hop just turned 10 years this week.
Congratulations!
Thank you. It sounds crazy though. 10 years sounds like a long time. But things time flies, and
yeah.
but we're so grateful. We're grateful to God for all the people that have been part of it, and all you guys have been part of this in one way or the other over the last few years. So, like that, you might want to stay away from that, or if you want to as well, you can put on headsets because that also blocks out like any unnecessary sound and stuff. So that definitely works as well. I think some of you guys I see, we think we lost signal for
Gotcha now.
Nathan.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are going back. Okay. Yeah. You guys can still see
Nope.
me, right?
You're out.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I'm still out. Oh, okay. I only see audio.
Headsets,
Audio
okay.
only.
I'll be back real quick.
All right. Get your headset. All right. Cool. While Nathan is out getting his headset, I wanted to just kind of get into this topic right away, and so that for the sake of time, and obviously we have a bunch of other people on, and be able to comment. For those who are not on the actual, yeah, we can hear you now. For those who are not actually on the panel, like being seen right now, you can always get on the chart on the side and make comments, ask questions, and stuff like that. So that should be good. We'll be able to answer those questions. So for the sake of time, the first question I want to just delve into is this question of what is the future of urban missions? And when we hear the word urban, a lot of us, think of different things. So I wanted to kind of start right there and ask, when you guys hear the word urban in the context of ministry, what comes to your mind? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? And what we're just going to go like this. We're going to ask T to go first, and then ask PQ, and then Nathan can also answer to that as well.
Okay. I think for me, the first thing that I hear when I hear the word urban in context of ministry is inner city. And I think it's just because I was raised in LA, okay. And that's just how my mind goes. It's inner city ministry. So when you originally asked me, I was thinking, I don't know what I can really say about urban until you put it in the context of it being a city, almost like a big city. So that's just how when I hear the word urban, I've always thought of inner city kind of ministries type of thing. But I guess tonight we're talking about big city.
Yeah.
Metropolitan.
Big city.
Yeah.
Metropolitan. Exactly. PQ, what comes to mind when you hear the word urban?
Yeah, when I think of urban missions, I tend to think, like T said, thinking about the city, specifically inner city, but more so now having had some experience with it, I think of it more in terms of urban missions is not, I think about what it's not.
Just lost.
Am I the only one?
We lost. I think we lost PQ there. PQ's probably gonna jump back in again, but I'm gonna go on to Nathan. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
when you hear the word urban, what comes to
I just think of the city, particular where it's very like concentrated, and the neighborhoods too. Not just where it's like business and stuff, but like where the people live in the city. So,
yeah.
Big city.
Yeah. It's good. Big city. Okay. I think PQ is back again.
Yeah.
PQ. Okay. Well, I'll answer the same question about the urban. And for those who are on the chart, the question we're asking is, what does urban mean to you? Like the word urban. So for me, when I hear the word urban, I'm not only thinking about just in a city, which is typically what people think about when they think about the word urban. I think for myself as well, I think maybe it's a combination of pretty much all the living things in a city, everything in the city. That could be in a city, that could be business centers in those cities. I think cities are a bit interesting because with globalization right now, we have more countries kind of like drifting more towards the concept of metropolitans. So people are coming out of villages, of like countrysides, and coming into city centers around the world. I use an example, China. 20 years ago, people lived in city centers, but with the expansion in China today, more and more people are leaving the countryside and coming into city centers. And there's the need for more further expansion. And even the way we think about ministry has to change when we think about even missions, period. Because typically when I think about missions, if I can piggy on the word urban, if I think about what missions, I always typically think of what rural, like some going into some like place that you've never seen anyone before, they've never heard about the gospel. But I think the word urban for me means, just everyone that lives in the city, whether that's the inner city context, whether it's the business owner, it's just everyone that lives within that context of a metropolitan. For me, that's a city, or urban for me. PQ, we're gonna go back to you because we lost you on that question.
Yeah, I don't have any idea what happened. Maybe the blab doesn't like me. But just to cut through the chase, I mean, I think you all hit on it. The one thing that I was saying, one caveat is that what I think about when I think of urban missions more so is what it's not. It's not going necessarily to another country. It's not necessarily being out in the field or working. We tend to think of missions and missionaries as people who are going to work with people who may be underserved or in specific situations like that in communities who may not have things. And while we are, in urban missions working with people who may be underserved, it's not necessarily some of your basic services, goods and services, that kind of thing. It's more so underserved as far as having hope and that kind of thing. So it's about bringing light and hope to the city. So.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. Let's delve a little bit into this concept of urban missions, and I want to frame it within the context of youth and young adults ministry, and just because urban ministry or mission is such a vast field, we can't possibly exhaust the topic tonight. So we want to limit our scope and our focus. And the reason why we've asked you guys to be on here because all of you guys have worked with youth and young adults in different capacity over the last 5 to 10 years, and so we feel like you guys are well equipped to answer some of these questions that we might have. The first thing I want to go into is what do you guys think is in your experience, the most effective models of urban missions that you have witnessed or participated in the last 5 years?
I think.
And I'll start with PQ. We're going to start with PQ. Oh,
No.
Okay.
No, restate your question for me.
Okay, so the question that I have is this. What is the most effective model of urban missions that you have seen in your context in working with young people in the last five years?
Well, that's kind of like it's kind of a baited question, Seyi. I mean, because
hey, I'm asking you.
You know, I have a hard time, and I know One Truth is out there, so he already kind of knows that I'm gonna have a hard problem with the most part. But I can tell you there have been quite a few effective things, and I just want to point out a couple real quick. Obviously, it's no way I could be on a hip hop platform and not talk about how great the work that we have done with hip hop, whether it was going abroad when we did work in London, or whether we were here at home in you know, the San Francisco Bay Area, or even in DC. That I've seen some, you know, some pretty amazing things where we are bringing to kids, you know, we think missions, and sometimes we think we have to do like some special kind of biblical setup, you know, take it out, you know, and I don't want to disparage anything like the way of master or anything publicly or something like that. I don't want to say anything negative because it's not about that. But more so what I am going to say is that you don't have to have a certain model of or standard of thing that you take to the people, more so than just being able to meet people where they are. And hip hop and the work that we've done with Liquid, you know, just going out and working with kids on a one-on-one basis, being able to see what they actually need and being able to fulfill those needs, whether it's through the arts, through just being a helping hand in the moment. So yeah, that's what I've noticed. You guys all went black. What's going on here?
Oh, I'm here.
We're still here.
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah, as long as you can hear, at least you're connected still.
As long as you can hear us. And also too, I know One Truth is online with us as well. So, you know, if anyone at any time wants to switch out with him, we can always get him in as well to kind of hear from him as well. So if you want to volunteer,
I'm going to hang up.
I can't really get up this time, the moderator. Okay, gonna hang up. Okay, let him in. Okay, let's see. All right. So the same question goes as we're gonna get a PQ. We're gonna get One Truth in. T, can you answer the same question? What have you found to be, I guess, in your context in campus ministry? What have you found to be effective? You know, in
I would actually say the same. I find that just authentic personal relationships has been like the key thing. You know, being in London for almost 7 years now, it's a lonely city, you know, and I'm always amazed on how just the simple things that, you know, we take for granted back in the States. Sorry, I'm not sure if everyone is in the States, but just for me, of like going to a friend's house, you know, and hanging out, you know, after a lecture. Oh, sorry, hold on. Oh, it's just because I wasn't sure if I woke my flatmate up. And I thought she was calling me saying, keep it down. Yeah, I mean, just I'm thinking about just some things that happened just this week alone where, you know, a Chinese student, like you said, we have loads of people from just around the world. I'm always amazed on not only just on the campus, but also within our young adult ministry of just how you have Polish people coming over, a lot of, because of the EU, you know, a lot of these people don't have family. They have to you know, start from scratch, you know, make new friends. And just the fact that we have simple relationships where it's authentic, you know, we just love them where they are. They come to Christ. I mean, like I was going to say, this one Chinese student that I was friends with for a whole year, and it was just really great of just getting to know her, sharing the gospel with her as the opportunity came. Like when we would go out, it wasn't this agenda. If the opportunity came, you know, I would jump on it per se. And she never responded. It was like, no, I don't want to come to your Christmas service. No, don't want to come to that. And it was fine. And then, you know, about a month later in the new year, I get a text message, well, WhatsApp, saying, I just got back to China. Wanted to let you know I gave my life to the Lord on the plane. What?
Wow.
You know, and that's like walking with someone for a year, you know? And so it's really relationship. Wow. Like another one of my friends, Boomy, today at church was saying how two of his colleagues, because he travels back to Lagos for work, He's been walking with them for about 2 years now, and he had the opportunity to pray for them to receive Christ. So it's relationship. For me, that's what I found.
Okay. Thank you, T. That's really good. Nathan, what's your take?
Yeah, I would piggyback on what both of them said. That like urban mission should be the relationship driven instead of like program driven. Programs are good and everything, but the basis of like most of my context has been in France, in Paris. And I was in Paris like last year for 2 months, and then just this past November for a month. And they have some things going on with the ministry I was involved with. They have like English conversation groups where they use this website meetup.com, and it's usually like a hooking up kind of a website for dating and things like that. But they just they use it for just like you know, inviting people to an English conversation group. A lot of people want to learn English. They come there, they see that people really do want to learn English. It's not just like a dating thing. But there's relationships. A lot of those people, they keep coming. They're talking about how they're learning English. And then they've been invited to like barbecues, you know, for 4th of July, or like different things that some of the Americans celebrate, like Thanksgiving and stuff like that. When I was over there, I just got like a few of their phone numbers. It was like, hey, you want to come over on a Friday night? You know, we'll have a dinner party. And a couple of them came, and they were just asking me about my life. You know, like, what are you doing here? Oh, you're a pastor. And I got to share my testimony, and we just prayed for the food. You know, it was kind of neat because that was the night that the attacks happened in Paris. So you know, it's just like that all like happened during that time. And so, you know, I just hope that like something goes through, that they're thinking more about spiritual things, but just letting like natural relationship develop, you know, instead of trying to like really push the gospel or push a program, just inviting people into your life, you know, living life together, see what happens.
Yeah. Sorry, I only laugh because
that's good.
I know people would do meet up here in London.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. No, meetup is really cool.
It is.
I know. Meetup is really cool. Peque is back. Meetup is really good, and we use it a lot here in Washington D.C. area as well. And I think a lot of people. I think people are finding that these types of apps or websites, you know, do facilitate relationships. And I think, again, I know PQ was saying that was a baited question. It was that. Because what I was trying to elicit from you guys is some type of response, because I know that for me personally, when I look at scripture, I don't just see models, you know, or, you know, specific strategies, you know, and I think that's kind of where we're kind of been missing it of late, you know, in terms of our engagement in ministry or missions, whatever, you know, you want to say. You know, it's like typically when we think about it, we're like, okay, what program can we get to reach a bunch of kids or reach a bunch of people? But I think what we need to be doing is to say, how can my life interact with people in such a way that they get to see the person of Christ? You know, because if we're not doing that, programs don't change. Programs don't change people. I'm sorry. It's life on life. And I think the context of urban missions, I think why I think it's such interesting is I've read a lot of stuff from Tim Keller in New York, the Redeemer, I think is the name of his church. And he's a well thought out guy when it comes to urban. And I've loved the way he's actually recaptured that word for the church. I think people have always kind of thought about urban means, you know, minorities, doing ministry with minorities in inner city. Yeah. That's what it means, you know. But it's so much more than that. And I think that the biblical definition that we see of urban really is tight-knitted communities interacting with each other. And if you look at the large Roman cities of its day, where actually after Christianity kind of left its Palestine roots, like if after it left, Jerusalem, Samaria, and it started to go into the Roman Empire. I mean, if you look at Paul's missionary journey, those were large, metro, Roman Greco-like cities that he was going into, and that's the foundation of our faith, for those who are Christian on this chart, I guess. It's very important for us to kind of remember that when we think about urban. And as they influence those urban centers, then the gospel was able to go to the farthest place and the remotest place of the earth, because it affected the influential parts of society. But again, if we look at the examples in scriptures, what made those missionary journeys in the urban context effective was as Paul went into these places, he built relationships with key people in those cities. So relationships are foundational in anything we do. In anything we do. I want to kind of segue into this question, which is somewhat baited, but it's not. But I'm really honest in this question. What have you guys seen? And this is not to indict anyone. Trust me, if you've done ministry for any long period of time, you realize that there's things you've tried that worked and things you've tried that hasn't worked. But what have you seen that is ineffective? I want to, not to pick on anyone, in your experience that you find ineffective in doing ministry. And I'll start with myself. Okay, let's start right there. I found that programs, if we can limit noise in the background, it'll be good too. Thank you guys. Programs typically kind of like put us into a place at times where we can't really hear what God is saying or how to make adjustments in reaching the people we need to reach, because sometimes the programs become more important than the people. I've made that same mistake. I have my program, I have my structure, we got to fit people in that, if they don't fit in it, que sera, I don't really have time for this, and so I find that programs, meaningless programs, just for the heck of programs, so that we can say I have some good things going on in my ministry, that doesn't transform people's lives. That's just my own experience. But again, that's kind of where I'm at. I'll go to T. What do you think about that? What is ineffective things that you've seen in terms of urban missions interacting with people and stuff that you've seen maybe hasn't been the most effective?
I would definitely agree with the whole programs bit, but I think I've been a bit blessed here in London to just work on a team where not to say that I have free reign, but I have free range to be myself. And if I don't really think that this is what God is leading in the culture for our campus ministry, then I have the freedom to push back and say no. But just observing it in certain other areas, just life in the city in London, because London's super diverse. Like you can go from north, east, west, south, and you just get so many different types of people. And one of the things that we found very ineffective in East London, where I'm based, is you have a lot of street corner preachers, which is really funny because you don't really see a lot of that in the States. People standing on corners with microphones, but you come to Stratford Station, where I live, which is a station away from where our university, where we do outreach at, is you get off and you'll have variety of different, guys just singing out loud or just, talking about whatever. And it's just like, this is not helpful. And I would say it's very minor, but this is something that I've done over the past couple of years that I haven't seen really work well. And that's actually flyering. I don't know about you guys, but it's just, he spent so much money on these really fancy flyers, and people take them and then you see a whole bunch on the ground, like maybe 5 meters away from you. And you're just like, what? And so I hate to say it because I do feel like I need to effectively, flyer or whatnot, but flyering does not work.
Ouch.
No, don't get me wrong. I spent.
Ooh.
I have a budget for flyers. So one of the things, actually, Wednesday I was talking to Andrew, who's my pastor, and I was saying I think I need to start working this social media thing better because
yes.
Yes.
Funny thing is, I've now been assigned to become the master of all social media for our local church and campus because none of us know how to really work it.
Nice.
It's almost like I feel like I'm dating myself.
Yeah, that's no. Hey, look, we all have our, it's a love-hate relationship with social media at times, especially if you're not like smack dab in that true millennial like age, the kids born in 90 post,
Yeah.
It's like you blink and it's something new.
Yeah. So along that same line, let me.
So, I'm like,
I think the new thing here in London is Snapchat. I was like, yeah, guys, find us on Facebook, and they're like, oh, we'll just Snapchat it.
Yep.
What's that?
Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat is it's kind of huge right now too. I think T brought up a good point, and I actually want to segue into this point is what in terms of urban missions, I think it's important for us to think about it here to identify the types of people we're trying to reach. If you're talking about an high schooler, someone between the ages of 16 and like maybe 14 and 18, maybe 19. That's a high schooler today. And you're looking at someone between the ages of 19 and maybe about 29, including grad school. That's college age, if you will.
Yeah.
What things can we do? How can we better? We all spoke about relationships. I think that's the key. But what are the things can we do to help facilitate our relationships with this age group in the urban context? For instance, in DC, everyone you're trying to meet is busy. It's like the busy city. It's like I'm busy. I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm busy. I'm like, dude, I just saw you online, dude. Like, I saw you on Facebook. I mean, obviously you're changing your city and stuff. Like, obviously you don't have time to meet with me in person. Okay, but what can we do? What can we do to actually facilitate better relationships with the people we're meeting in urban settings?
Yeah, I want to jump all over that because I think that one of the first things that we need to look at when we are looking to connect with the people we're trying to reach out to. First off, we need to be attractive. And when I say attractive, I don't mean, how we physically look. I mean, how we position ourselves. I mean, if you look like you just been, sucking on green persimmons, and, everything in the world stinks to you. How many people you think are going to be interested in coming over to hear what you have to say? We talked about this morning with our group. We were talking about the importance of, us having a stance, a way about us. Let's go back to what Jesus says. Jesus said, "By this men will know that you are my disciples, that you have love one for another." Okay, what is it about the disciples? What was it about Jesus? What was it about those first century Christians that drew people in? It wasn't the fish, okay? What was it? Mm-hmm. It was the fact that they had this love. It wasn't just the miracles. It was the love. And if the other things come, the miracles will come. But if we can first just love people for the sake of loving them, not because of any other reason, and in fact, if we can love the unlovable, the people, the homeless person who smells, the alcoholic who is being a nuisance to everyone else, if we can find a way to love those people.
Yeah.
On top of that, if we can be found loving one another, then surely we will draw people in, because love draws people, and I'm a witness to that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Good. Anybody want to piggyback
Yeah, I think
on that?
like
Just along the
I
lines.
think like some of the biggest things that are ineffective is like just not following Christ in your character. Being shy. You can't be shy and do urban ministry. It's just not going to work. You need to say hello. You need to be friendly.
Yeah.
You need to make things happen. So, you got to be friendly. Being assertive. And I think like allowing room for a relationship to happen.
Yes.
I mean, there's all kinds of things that someone might have like a music night, or they might have like an English conversation group or a party or something. But if they're so like task driven, like I went to this music night, and they had like they had so many musicians lined up. There's like no breaks. There's like boom, 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 and I was like, man, give us a break. Like we're just in the music. I was like, I want to talk to this guy. And,
right.
It's cold outside, so you can't really go outside and talk. Unless you're gonna be smoking or something. They want to take a smoke break, but so it was just so much music that there was no time for relationship. And then some of the things like a little stupid stuff. They were like, oh, we can't be handing out flyers about this thing, only if they come to us. I'm like, well, what if I'm talking to someone on the subway? I'm gonna hand them a flyer. I'm playing some guitar, just so like that kind of like I think letting the culture, like I was in France, so a lot of people are like, like most cities in Paris or something, like they're kind of keep to themselves a little bit and stuff. But you could break that whole culture stereotype by just kind of being awake and alive, listening to God, and you see someone with something nice. They got a Giants hat on, or I don't know, they're asking for directions or
not
something.
The Giants, though.
Help,
not the
Giants,
what I mean? Not the Giants. I'm gonna take claps away for that.
So I'm assuming you guys are
man. Come on,
come on, 2007. Come on, they still got it.
Peque was just prejudice.
It's true. It's true.
They just can't ever finish. Yeah.
I guess I'm the only volleyball.
I think one of
the character of missionary or of the minister or whoever it is out in the city could really make the whole ministry ineffective. You get a few bad characters, it kind of fills the whole dough, like Jesus said.
I think it's to answer your point there. I think that it's even necessary, so specifically if you have position. I'm in a place where I lead a group of people, and if you're in a position where you can let people kind of give them the I'm not gonna be politically correct. Sometimes you just gotta let people go. Okay, you just gotta you gotta send them on. Sometimes people are not helpful to the ministry. John Mark wasn't helpful for the ministry at some point, so he had to go. And sometimes people are just not. They want to come out with their politics, and they want to come out with their hate mongering and all that kind of stuff. Let's let them go, okay? Because they are not effective with what you're trying to do, and they're actually an enigma, to the ministry. And you have to be careful to watch out for people like that, no matter what your position is.
Yeah, they might
be careful to watch
something else too, like whatever. Nursing home ministry or something like that,
right.
Something more one-on-one or something, compassion ministry, instead of missional ministry where it's like in your face, kind of risk taking. I mean, that's what a lot of urban ministries like risk taking. You gotta make things happen. You gotta show the love of God, but sometimes you gotta be bold and stuff,
Yeah. I think it's one thing I'm always telling people. I was like, it's not hard to really start a conversation. All you have to do is say, hi, my name is.
Slim Shady.
You sound like Eminem, man. Come on, Slim. Come on, Slim Shady.
And it's like, particularly with students when they first get to, I just don't understand. I'm like, guys, why do you have this big mental block? All you simply need to do is just introduce yourself. And I think of this one girl, Carly. She's English, well, Chinese, but born here. And when I first met her, like, it was like talking to a mime. I'm like, what did you say? But it just, like you said, as she began to spend more time with God and just got more confident in just loving people, it became easy. It was like you would look at her and be like, this isn't the same girl I met 3 years ago. You know, just by a smile. It's not hard to smile and just say hello, and then just go from there. You know, and just in regards to that France thing, like I went on a mission trip to Marseille a few years back, and the guy who leads our church there, he had this thing called free hugs and bisous, which is so not my love language. I do not touch people that I don't know, like kiss kind touch. And so they're like, T, do you want to hold this free hug, free kiss? No. And I remember when I did, like,
that's some out of the box.
Like I don't know if it was for Jesus or all the guys in France, because like for all of the girls, this one guy was going around, oh, free hug. Like, you are not hugging for the right reasons. But but there was this one lady, actually, that one of the girls from our team, she hugged and she just began to cry and wouldn't let go. And we got a translator over, and she was saying how she was actually thinking about killing herself later that day. But just because someone hugged her, took time to care, you know, and we were just like, wow, this stuff works. Just, you know, loving people in that kind of, particularly in France, because they're a bit distant, if that makes sense. And so it's very powerful just to smile and just be outgoing.
I think with the international flavor that's in most of the cities that we work in, like you know, you could say, oh well, I'm in New York City or whatever, and you could be like, oh, people are like this, you know what I mean? But you have so many international people that don't take the culture or the stereotype, you know, like just find out how to reach those people, you know, by talking to God, by doing your own research instead of like, you know, letting like the culture, you know, because that's what people do. Like, and that's what they were doing to me. They were saying, oh, the French people are like this. You can't talk, you won't reach them by doing this and doing this, and, you know, stuff like that. And listen, the French people aren't in Paris. They're French, but they ain't French. They're international, you know. They're different. So,
you know, that's a great point. The thing about formulas, you know, when people start saying, well, you need to do this because you're dealing with this kind of person, it takes the humanity away from people, because actually, you know, you start thinking, well, there's a certain way I can deal with this kind of person, or there's a certain thing that I can do to help that kind of person. And it doesn't work like that. You know, people are people, and you have to deal with each individual as they are. You can't. I'm going to deal with all of these French people this way. That makes no sense.
Stereotypes.
I think part of the issue is like stereotype and sometimes laziness, because we don't actually want to put in the work of actually, like, you know, really getting to know people and building meaningful relationships with them. And I think that within each culture, especially I'm going to go back to globalization. As Nathan said, you know, look, if you walk down any major metropolitan today in the world, you're going to meet someone from another place that lives in that place, or maybe they've made that place home. And so to make assumptions that you know, or maybe you're on campus ministry, there's a lot of international students. Whether you are in Los Angeles doing ministry, there's a lot of people. Those are major cities, and there's so many cultures we're interacting with to kind of draw conclusion. Oh, everybody in LA is superficial, so I need to, you know, that's those are stereotypes and generalizations. No, and we need to be able to look at people. There's a book by Ed Stetzer. It's like a missional guy, you know, in the church. world. It's called like breaking the missional code. And I think, in a way, I respect the book, and I respect what the book is trying to do. But at times, I think people kind of read a book like that and think, look, I can just figure out how to break the missional code for everything in the city.
That's exactly
instead
right.
of understanding that cities are living organisms, and within cities there's subcultures. So I think the most important thing is, I think I would venture to say this. Yes, generalizations are not good, but then also at the same time, people belong to things in their city. Find that thing that they belong to. Find that culture that they belong to within that city, and find ways to connect to it within your own authentic self. And I think that's another thing. Look, if I'm trying to reach a bunch of skateboarders, I never skated before. I don't look. If you put me on a skateboard, I'll probably break my hand. Okay, so I have to find something within what God has given me. First of all, that's actually prayer. I think we cannot overstate the importance of prayer.
Yeah.
If there's anything at all that I would say, and Peque will tell you this, when the places we've gone around the world, and one can say the same thing too, we've always proceeded in prayer. Really understanding that it is a spiritual battle. It's no way for us to just go into the city and trying to figure out people and, okay, well, I'm going to do all this research, and then you never pray. Maybe you spend one day praying for a mission trip, and you spend all these hours, doing research. I think you should equally do research on where you're going and the people you're trying to reach. But at the same time, this is also a spiritual matter. We are supposed to get people in a way where we're able to interact with them, but understand what God is saying about them. And so I think sometimes that's a challenge for us in doing ministry in these places. Understand the culture. There's different subcultures within a city. Find out what that person is connected to. Find out what their passions are, and find ways within who you are. I'm not going to become a skater so I can reach a skater. Actually, a lot in the history of missions and of what God does, many times, many people that reach people they don't even look anything like the people they're reaching. I'll give an example. There's a pastor here in this area. When first time I met him, Peque knows him, and one should know him as well. Pastor Kirk, just a white guy, regular white guy, had done missions in Mexico. Him and his wife came back to the Washington, D.C. area. The Washington, D.C. area has pockets where there's a lot of South Americans that live there. Now, he speaks Spanish, but he has a heart to reach, Hispanics here in the States.
Awesome.
But if you see him, it looks nothing. It looks nothing like anyone that would even be able to reach anyone, diverse at all. But yet still, how did he win these kids over? Love. Yeah. He loved this kid. He was there. He became pretty much essentially their father. And his congregation is filled with a bunch of young Hispanic kids that most of them don't even interact with white people. Talk list of some guy that, and so, but the love, overcomes a lot those types of things.
Yeah.
I use another example. You guys might know him, David Wilkerson, who wrote Crossing the Switchblade. He's passed now. He started the Times Square Church. One of the things that he's a classic example of like urban missions in the last maybe 50 years. In the 50s and 60s, he came to New York, and he reached out to gangs, Puerto Rican gangs, and he was from the central Pennsylvania, like in the middle of nowhere, and he came to New York City to reach a bunch of Puerto Rican gangsters.
Yeah.
And what happened through his ministry, I'm sure he didn't dress up, and look like, like he was one of the characters from the, what's that musical, South Side or
West Side Story.
West Side Story. Yeah, like West Side Story. He didn't look like anything like that. He was just a regular guy, but he loved, and he was filled with boldness because he had spent time with God, and he knew that God was sending him to this place, to these people. So I think it's very important for us to kind of think about it that way too. It's like, understand where you're trying to reach.
Right.
Do not stereotype.
Yeah.
Don't be lazy and sloppy with the people you're trying to reach because they can tell at a mile away. There's nothing worse than an unauthentic person trying to reach you. It's like, man, get out of here, man. And we can say whatever we want to say about a lot of the things that is going on right now, even like with terrorism and ISIS recruiting people. It's because these people deem these people authentic.
Yeah.
Like whatever they're saying to them, they're buying they're drinking the Kool-Aid. So what we need to be doing the same thing as well. I think in terms of our, we have to believe what we're saying. If I don't believe what I'm saying, and if I'm not living what I'm saying, it comes out, man.
Yeah.
You can't fake the fun. It's just, people know that a mile away. I want, we have about another 15 minutes here. I know Peque, Jahmal is on. I wanted to see if we can maybe switch someone in for Jahmal to see if is he on to be able to speak right now?
I'm looking to see.
Okay. While we're see if we can get him on, I wanted to switch to our last topic tonight. You guys have been great. I hope there's a lot of people watching this tonight, and we're gonna load this up onto YouTube as well and share this discussion, and hopefully we can continue to do this. Before I move to the last question, I actually wanted to kind of hear from you guys in your context. What are you doing in what you're doing in urban missions, and it looks different for all of you guys. From Peque to T to Nathan, even to Jahmal, One Truth. It looks different for all of us. I just wanted to kind of hear from you guys. You can just take like a minute or so just to share with us where you're serving or the places that you've been or you're serving at, and what you're doing there. And one interesting twist to the question is, what do you find yourself doing now in ministry that you didn't think you will be doing in the, like maybe a year ago, like maybe something that maybe a growth that God has brought you into, or an understanding that God has brought you into about reaching people in the urban context? PQ, take it away.
Great. Thank you. Awesome question. So right now, I am leading Liquid. That's really way more than I know how to even tell you in this time that I've been given. What we do is we do urban missions in a couple of ways. So first and foremost, we are an arts group, and we reach out through the arts to help people try to discover what it is that they're supposed to be doing. Okay, what is your purpose? So we do that. We have in the past in venues like churches and community centers and things like that. However, recently, in the last couple of years, we started working in the schools. So I get a chance to see about 155 students a week. And I teach some creative writing classes. I teach an art class. And then we teach a regular Liquid class, which is all of the arts. And we're dealing with continuation students. These are the students who this is their last chance to get out of high school. So they are a captive audience, and almost literally, they really will pay attention a lot more than the average high school kid, and a lot of them are really soft as far as soft ground to plant and to speak into their lives. More so, the thing that's been, I would say, if you asked me a couple of years ago, what would I be doing now? It wouldn't be any of this. So one of the things we do on Sundays, a few of us get together and we go out to the park, and we meet in the park, and we have church out there per se, not really. What we really do is we go out to reach people, and we go out to see our who's out there. What we're doing is going out to just talk to the people. I literally get my marker and my pad, and I draw people. And so we draw the crowd. Okay. And while I'm drawing people, we ask them questions. We ask them who they are, and they end up telling us. That's amazing, the things that people will tell you when they're sitting down in front of you being drawn. It's almost like I know back in the day when I used to get go to the barber. I don't do much of that these days. But when I used to go to the barber, you could sit in a barber's chair or sit in the barber shop and just hear all kind of things from different guys. And people will tell barbers everything. Well, I get that same experience when I sit people down to draw caricatures. They will tell me all kind of things I never expected. So what am I doing that I never expected? That I could use my artistic ability as a caricature artist to sit down and draw people and draw ministry out of people, draw an understanding and be able to serve people in this kind of way. So urban missions in a very different way, ways I never expected to be able to touch and reach people. So, absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you. That's profound. That's profound. And Peque was obviously doing ministry out of the Los Angeles area and beyond that as well. So
come on, LA.
Thank you so much, man. That's awesome. Come on, LA. Yeah.
God has not forgotten my hometown.
Yeah. There's still hope for LA. No, there is. P, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, your ministry in London?
Yeah, I do campus ministry. So and young adults, more like the transition. Most all the young adults that I minister to are former students. I particularly work on the campus of Queen Mary University in London, which is East London, and it's very, very diverse, meaning we have British students, other European students, a lot of Southeast Asian, and a lot of Asian, as in like Bangladeshi and Pakistani. Ironically enough, Queen Mary has a reputation of being known as the school for Islamic parents to send their students to, because it has a very high Islamic population.
Okay.
And I love that diversity. It really challenges me in the sense of, do I start a debate or do I really want to get to know this person? Because it's a lot of different faiths out there, and it's exciting. I love it. I would say the thing that I wouldn't have expected myself doing that I'm doing this year that I didn't do last year, I would say engaging more with Muslim students. And when I say engaging more with Muslim students is, I was actually one of those people that actually, when I met with a Muslim student, it was to kind of convert them. It wasn't really to become friends and to really get to know them as a person, and God really challenged me on that, of just loving them for them. And I began to have that opportunity to really get to know a few Muslim students on campus. And I could say they become really good friends of mine as well. And so that's a big thing. And we've had some really good conversations. I'm currently reading this book called Seeking Allah but Finding Jesus by this guy named Nabeel Quresh, and just was really challenged with his statement of, most Christians wanted to convert me versus to really get to know me. And with that challenge, I've had the opportunity to really get to know some great Islamic people, and just trusting that God is going to do something there. So that would be my big thing. So yeah, student ministry.
That's good. Awesome. Nathan, thank you, Pete.
Yeah, well,
Nathan, what's
up? So I'm a bivocational pastor, actually in a suburban church in New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore, but we have a church partnership with an international church in Paris. And so we've been just supporting them in different outreaches and things they've been doing the past couple years. So we have teams that go over there that serve with two churches in Paris, one English speaking, one French speaking. And so a lot of our ministry is really just coming alongside of them. They have certain programs that are already set up. So we're not able really to set up a whole lot of different events and things like that. So, but we're teaching them just relationship, community, ministry and stuff, by just showing them how, and then showing them basics of really initiative, because there's not a lot of initiative with some of the people in Paris, from pastors all the way down to lay leaders. But it's been really neat, just kind of just developing partnership between the American church and the French churches, and just showing them like, you know, how to like do ministry, like having a soccer game, playing tennis, having people over for dinner, even, you know, in some of the programs they have, instead of like getting all bent out with like, oh, the program doing all the work, just after the program or before the program, like going out to coffee, going out for, you know, for lunch or snack with some of those people that are lost, and just showing them like the value, the key being the relationship. So that's been really neat, because I think our church does that a lot in our suburban context, but seeing that we could bring that to urban context, and it works, you know, it's because it's found in scripture, you know. Don't make disciples, greet, you know, if you don't greet the pagans, you know, then, I mean, how are you going to be able to reach them? You know, like Jesus was saying. So just some of the basic things, like you were saying hello, getting to know people, using your passions. Like I play tennis, so you know, we just went to play tennis, and the next thing you know, a Chinese man, you know, came up to us. He's like, "Hey, my partner didn't show up. Can I play tennis with you guys?" We're like, "Sure." Next thing we know, we're talking to him about Christ, because he's asking us who we are, you know, what we're doing here in Paris. And, you know, found out he liked to play guitar. I was like, "Hey, I give guitar lessons. I'll give you a guitar lesson. Come over to this community center." So just, you know, just making things happen. And it's not too hard, you know, if you're just open and flexible and just willing to take risk and stuff. So really kind of showing some of the French people that by letting them like kind of see it. So a lot of it is, I think, discipleship with it's kind of a weird ministry. I'm not the missionary per se, but it's kind of like a Barnabas. You know, they're on the front lines. We're just a church in Jersey, but we're kind of coming alongside them, like as Barnabas did, you know, with Paul and stuff. So
awesome.
That's really good. It's really good.
That's awesome. You know, Jahmal's gonna join us. I think he's kind of getting somewhere.
Yeah, I could log on.
He's gonna log on.
I'll log in.
Okay. So
I can log. Oh, okay. He logged off.
Oh no, you can. You're good. You're good. So really quickly, just for myself as well, I work here in the context of our Washington D.C. area, but we do a lot of work outside of the United States as well. And you guys know we moved from California in 2010, actually 5 years ago. Crazy. But yeah, God is still allowing us to do things in California, obviously through our partnership with Liquid and beyond, and also we've seen God open doors, obviously, in Europe, and interestingly enough, in the Middle East and in parts of West Africa as well. And it's been interesting because you know, young people are young people. They're looking for purpose. They're looking for something to connect to. And if you're not able to speak to those things, you know, you're gonna try to find something a task, a mission. What I've observed around the world is most of the major kind of like societal moves that have happened historically, you know, young people have always been somehow in the center of it, you know, and you know what we're seeing around the world right now, you know, just from all our interactions, whether it be here in the United States, for those who are doing campus ministry, young adults ministry, which we do a lot here in the DC area. We're seeing young people very passionate right now about, you know, injustice that they're experiencing, you know, maybe with police brutality. The Black Lives Matters movement is really huge right now, and a lot of that has kind of centered around universities here in the States. You have whether you're looking at, you know, things going on in the Middle East, you know, even the Arab Spring, you know, that kind of was the onset for a lot of things we're seeing right now, especially recently in the Middle East. A lot of that were young people that took to the streets, you know, in these countries, and literally toppled governments that have been there for like 30, 40 years, and so I found that that's welcome, Jahmal. I find that is extremely important for us to see those things. For myself, a lot of what we do, you guys know, with hip hop, we use urban arts. Again, very similar. Welcome, Jahmal.
Welcome. Thanks.
Welcome today. So we use yeah we definitely we use urban arts to reach young people and to really engage them in a way where they can begin to use the talents that God has given to them. Specifically, obviously, with hip hop, and I always say hip hop is not specifically about hip hop, but we do speak a language in our generation right now. Where especially in terms of like urban context, with young people, hip hop obviously is a big part of the culture right now. It's like hip hop has gone pop. It's part of popular culture, and it's kind of shaping the way things kind of work for the good and for the bad. And so from our unique expression in ministry, we would try to engage young people within the subcultures that they find themselves. And we find that as we've gone from the Middle East to West Africa to somewhere in DC right here, like young people still have the same passions, these similar passions. And we just create an atmosphere and an environment for them to be able to use those passions. And so about 2 years ago, we also had an opportunity to kind of start like more of a like non-traditional kind of a fellowship, like a church, for young people, especially college age, and just really begin to reach them. And also another thing that we kind of begin to feel a responsibility to do was to create curriculum to teach young people, whether young adults in college age or high schoolers, really engage them with the Word of God, but in relevant ways. And so and we've kind of tried to use social media as well as to engage them, not beyond just kind of like come to a meeting. We have a lot of meetings online like this, where young people are able to log in. Maybe they don't want to come to a physical building, but engage them in a way, maybe through a chat room like this, something like this, where we can engage them a bit further. And we found that to be. You just wore his glasses. Sorry. We found that to be very effective of late. So that's kind of what's going on with us here, and then we're looking forward to what God wants to do in the next 5-10 years. See, Jahmal is back with us. I know he's been kind of in and out, on the side. But I think the question we were just asking is a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in terms of engaging culture and and in the context of urban missions.
Can you hear me right now? Okay.
Yeah. We can hear you.
Okay, cool. Because I don't have a microphone on these headphones. I didn't know if it was going to work. Yeah. So, I do a number of things, kind of on the lay level. I was in full-time ministry for a number of years in San Francisco, and I worked for a nonprofit called Girls in Boys Town in Long Beach for over 4 years, which is part of Father Flanagan's Boys Home, or known as Boys Town prior. So at this point, I've done hip hop music for a number of years. I've been with Peque as part of the Liquid Project, or Liquid Productions, and the family of liquid folks that exist.
What's a liquid?
What's a liquid?
Liquid all over the globe. You know what I mean? It's always liquid everywhere. It's more liquid than land, and it's solid anyway. So we've been doing that for what 9 years now?
9 years, yeah. 9 years
ago by. This is December. So
wow.
So and I'm also a filmmaker pursuing a master's at USC. And one more thing about the academic part of it, I got my undergrad degree in anthropology and African American Studies minor. And that really made a big impact on me in terms of I guess, developing an outlook or approach to how to speak to people in this era. A lot of the things that have occurred over the last year, whether it's Supreme Court decisions or uptick in racial tensions and political divisions and all the things that we've seen, were really things that you could see on the horizon 7 or 8 years ago when I was an undergrad. And going through that academic program prepared me to be able to interpret the signs of the times in that way. And so I wasn't blindsided in the way that a lot of people, and not to be self-serving in that statement, it sounds self-serving to say, but it just was more of a sense of my attitude and conversation was such of like, okay, well, we have at a heart level a country that looks at life and looks at the world in this way. So how do you speak to people who are convinced that this is that this is what is right, as opposed to speaking to them the way we would have spoken to them in previous generations, as though it were an uncertainty, or speaking to them as though your position was just as valid as any other positions in a continuum of positions. What you're doing in this era is speaking to people from a defensive position, and not necessarily defensive as though you were apologizing or uncertain about your position, but defensive in terms of the burden of proof is upon you.
On you, yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
And so I think that we make the mistake a lot of times in this era in terms of talking to people as though we were talking to their parents, who would have had a certain more level of openness or a certain level of availability to our basic premise. A premise of faith, a premise of scripture, a premise of morality, even outside of scripture. These are things that people don't generally have. People don't generally adhere to per se. Like, it's not their baseline. You know, their baseline is availability. It's an openness. It's plurality. You know, so you have to talk to people if you're going to engage them on this level. I liked what Tharshish had to say earlier about not talking to people for the sake of converting them, but talking to them for the sake of relationship and actually loving and caring about who they are. Some of us have a hard time even conceiving of being in a relationship with people that don't think like us, because we don't see any way into the conversation about the gospel. And so if we don't see a way into the conversation about the gospel, we don't know what we could possibly have to talk about or how to talk to them at all. And if you're not able to just talk to people, and I think it's important for us as believers to be in the common space, to be in the public square, to be in the mainstream, to not just continuously be constructing our own enclaves so that we can feel safe in our own skin. We have to allow ourselves to be unsafe. I think that's what it means to walk a narrow and difficult road to salvation. You know, you have to be understanding that your position is firm and certain because of Christ, but because of the things that we ordinarily would consider to be firm and certain would be precarious, because there'll be a lot of lack in terms of our practical ability area. You have to be in a space where you probably will be more available to be tempted. For example, you know, in film school, these people aren't concerned with my sensibilities to violence or profanity or sexuality or thrillers that have to do with these people that actually more difficult to deal with for me personally than the other things that like. A lot of the comedy type of stuff is just kind of disturbing. But these people couldn't care less. It's art to them, and I have to be uncomfortable for their sake, not them for mine.
Exactly.
In previous generations, it was the expectation was to others. So that's my focus and my endeavor to be able to prepare myself to stand in a space where I could be like, my act of service is to put myself in an uncomfortable place.
That's good. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. That what Jahmal was saying right there is just, I think, is right on. I think we're not called to sit in a comfort zone, but we're called to come outside of our comfort zone to engage our culture.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things that
Absolutely.
I think one of the other big mistakes that we're making right now with urban missions, which means missions in the city, mission of Christ to people in our city, is we're vacating the secular space. So a lot of people think like, well, the noble thing for me to do is to quit my job and go into quote unquote ministry. Quote unquote ministry, and just kind of like, okay, well, we're just gonna go over there now. I'm gonna go to seminary, and look, there's nothing wrong with that. I've been to seminary myself, but I realized that I remember coming to Washington D.C. and my paradigm was like, okay, look, I'm the ministry guy. I've had experience in this. I'm trying to engage my culture, and I how difficult it was for me to meet people.
Yeah.
Kind of froze.
Yeah, I mean, some of you guys are moving a little bit. You're moving.
Yeah, I think we're the only two left.
Okay, Jahmal's look like he's doing something. Give me a head nod, Jahmal.
What am I doing? I'm here.
You're good. Oh, it's just Shay.
When you're interacting with young people, especially in the college context,
we missed a lot of that. Say you totally froze.
Yeah, you froze.
Can you guys still hear me?
Now I can hear you now.
We just came back. Yeah.
Yeah, you might need a refresh or something.
Nathan, I don't even see you anymore. I just see your audio egg.
Yeah.
Okay, Shay, you can just back it up a little bit for a couple of sentences.
I think we lost him.
Shay.
Yeah,
we did. How can we lose him? This is his thing.
I hear it,
without him.
I came from like Nyack, and I was like, thinking I was going to get paid as a pastor and all that stuff, and I just been bivocational, and it's been awesome.
Yeah,
being able to relate to the people and stuff.
Absolutely, because it's one of the challenges that we face is when we vacate this secular space, and we're trying to engage people in that space. You don't have any credibility. Look, if I'm trying to reach bankers and I have college students say, I just want to go do ministry. And I said, no, hold up. Okay. I know you want to go do ministry, but you are the ministry. You're not doing ministry. Ministry should flow out of your life. So like, if I have a brilliant, scientist as one of my students in campus ministry, I'm like, look, man, maybe you should stay in that field. Actually engage people where you are.
Right.
If you're a brilliant musician and you want to go to music school, I mean, I'm all down for you joining the worship team and serving in that way if you feel that's what you need to do. But maybe you joining the worship team and becoming a professional worship leader is not really what's going to really change.
Yeah.
Oh.
Music wall,
it's all free, so we don't
yeah. So it's not because you didn't get support, but again, we have to be content all things to all people, things like that. But I think that we can vacate the social the space. We have about 5 more minutes, but I want to kind of touch on this question. You guys have been great. You guys have been wonderful. And thank you for those who have been joining us and kind of commenting on the side. I want to ask this question. I think it's being kind of like, I think it's a hot button issue for a lot of people in the church is what is our responsibility to speak and act on social issues in our communities? And what I mean by that at times is that people are so scared in the church at times to comment or to talk about social issues that they see because we think like, well, somehow it's going to become a political thing. And I don't want to really go down that lane. I don't want to talk to this thing. but yet still, and I think a lot of people in our culture are looking for people to actually to speak up and say something, about what's going on. Obviously, in an intelligible way, but well-reasoned people actually addressing real issues in society. So, what is our place? And this is our last question. What is our place as ministers of the gospel? Whether you're bivocational, whether you're in a circle, whatever that might be, look like for you. What is our role as missionaries, urban missionaries, to speak to social issues and also act on them, not just to speak to them, but to act on those things that we see, in our society. T, you have the longest, your different time zone, so I want to let you hit this one so you can leave.
It's interesting because just a couple weeks ago, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this guy named Michael Ramsden, a great, just British apologetic person out here. He works with the Rabbi Zechariah Ministries, and he actually spoke something along these lines, and he just simply said this: when you're in love with something, something's gonna provoke you, especially if it goes against your love. You'll be provoked to do something, and I think that we as Christians, particularly in regards to social things, if you really love the person, it's going to provoke you to do something. I know for me, one of our big social issues here particularly East London, I don't know how to translate this, but we say borough, which is it's not necessarily a neighborhood.
Like New York. You got Queens, you got Bronx.
Okay. So it crosses over. So in the Newham borough, homelessness has been on the rise, and we as a local church is like, okay, we can't allow this to happen on our watch. What can we do, besides just buying a meal here and there? It's starting to get cold in London, and so we started night shelters. We're looking on campus. What are some of the social needs there? Yes, it's good for even the moral stuff. I just had a conversation with one of my Islamic friends, Yasin, and I don't even know how we got on this topic, but we actually started talking about abortion. And I told him, I was like, we're talking about the U.S. Elections coming up. And so I was telling him I'm getting all my information from BBC. And I was like, if anything, I think I kind of err more towards Republican just on certain things, but it's some things that I agree with Democrats as well. So I guess I would be in between, but I still need to read up on it. I was like, but issues like abortion, I don't agree with it, but I know that there's not going to be a law in the world that's going to change the heart of a man. If someone's heart is set on doing something, they will do it. I was like, so my concern isn't necessarily if they pass this law of no abortion or what. My concern is to sit down, speak to the woman, have a conversation with her, and hope that just through the wisdom and the work of the Holy Spirit, God will do something in her heart. And so for me, that's how I personally stand on a lot of these social issues, that there's certain things that we do need to act on, but there's also certain things that it's in the heart of man, until that changes. I'm last year, just a Chinese student, and in mainland China, the communists, they locked down. And in one of our student groups, this girl, I'm not going to say her name, she was just like, I'm a lesbian. What do you think about that? And I'm like, okay, you need Jesus. We have that kind of relationship. And so, and I know that even saying that, almost like that's a big issue. But in our relationship, I was able to share with her from a biblical perspective. I was like, I'm a sinner, you're a sinner. We all need Jesus. We as humans like to take sin and morality and measure it like this, and just as I love my mother, but I also I love God as well. And sometimes you got to bring the truth. And she made a comment about my brother, because he's bi. And she said, he's committing the ultimate sin. God hates that. Well, the Bible also says adultery is wrong.
Right.
Which she committed adultery. And she was just like, well, that's different. According to God, it's like this. we like to do this, but God makes it like this.
Yeah.
And I always bring it back to that. You know, it's the heart of the man. And I think that that's particularly with homosexuality of just it's an issue of identity. I think the enemy has really tied a lot of stuff into that, and we try to make it like this when it's actually like this. You know, I'm gonna say something that a lot of people tend to laugh. I love Korean dramas. Actually, I was watching some before this show started.
You and my wife.
Come on.
I need to bring my wife in here so she can hear that some other African American woman is watching Korean dramas.
네, 맞아요.
Yes.
And I'm learning the language.
Yes.
Tell her this. I know a pastor in Hawaii who's American Samoan. Joe Onosai used to be the world's strongest man. He watches K-drama. When he told me that, I was just like, oh my God. I would have never imagined this big Samoan man who loves to watch Korean dramas. He's like, only the historical ones.
Only the historical. That makes it better.
Yeah. But it's this one drama that I'm currently watching where a husband cheated on his wife in just the most meanest and cruel way. And I remember, and I actually pray about stuff that I watch. And I was like, Lord, this guy, how dare he try to get back with his wife after what he did? You can forgive him, but girl, you do not forget. And this is all God said to me. You do it all the time. And I was like, whoa. That is different. When I repent, I legitimately, I want to be reconciled to you, Lord. But this guy doesn't deserve it. And it was just silence from then on. And I was like, I don't want to talk to you no more, God, because we disagree on this issue. But ironically,
agree, sister, agree.
The funny thing is over time, as this guy is loved on his wife, you know, I'm kind of for the reconciliation. And I was talking to one of my Korean friends who I met at a Korean meetup, and she's watching the same show, and I was telling her, you know, how God has changed my heart towards this, and she was like, "What? I don't know if I can agree with that." And just through a TV show, God has opened up a conversation about forgiveness and reconciliation, and you know, what does that really look like? You know, because we want to be reconciled with God. We want God to not treat us according to our sin, but yet we do the same thing. So in regards to, I'm bringing all this back together. Sorry, I get long-winded. And it's funny because my students always say, how is it that you always somehow bring in a K-drama into our Bible study? God works all things. But I think when it comes to social issues, we shouldn't be quiet. We should say certain things, but we also need to remember that it's the heart of the man as well, that we don't just want to blow our trumpets and say, listen to me, but I want to be able to also sit down and have these conversations. You know, when I think of this Chinese student who just went back home in August, she said, you know, and it was crazy because she goes, T, if I believe that God is real, then that means that I need to believe that Jesus Christ is real. And I can't go back to my home country because I'm a communist and we're not supposed to have a faith, but I want to believe in this Jesus. You know, I want to believe that he can change my life. You know, she had the desire, but it's these conflicts. And I'm glad that she trusted me enough for us to sit down and have these hard questions that I feel that particularly a lot of Christians like to run away from. I'm glad that, you know, there's a relationship and a trust that God gives me in people's lives to be able to address some of these social issues where when they look in the media, all they see is negativity. You know, they don't see the heart of God. And I hate the idea that people think that, you know, it's just grace. You know, I do Uber and my Islamic Muslim driver, that's the same thing, Islamic Muslim, but my Muslim driver, he asked me what I did and I began to tell him, and he goes, so pretty much all you Christians believe is that you can do whatever you want, and you know, if you just ask God for forgiveness, that it's okay. And I was like, no, that's cheap grace. He was like, Jesus didn't die for cheap grace. You know, it's a cost. You know, what Jesus said is, you know, particularly, and I always use the example of the woman at the that they brought I was like, he said, you know, neither do I you don't have any condemners, neither do I condemn you, sin no more. We forget that Jesus never brought the standard down, but he left the standard as is, and he's given us his Holy Spirit so that we can rise to the standard. And that's when we repent as Christians, we're saying God is going to empower us to sin no more. He's forgotten that, and we can move in his power. So it's not I can do whatever I want. And this is the interesting thing about this conversation with this Muslim guy. He was like, for me, my motive for serving Allah is fear. He goes, but it sounds like to me your motive for serving your God is love. And I was like, exactly. I try to do what's right because I love God. And I don't want to dishonor him or misrepresent him. So I don't know if that's answered your question, and that's way over 5 minutes, which I apologize for.
Yeah. Well, the rest of you guys have 6 minutes, so because we're going to be done at 8:30. So he don't take all the time, so I just
come on.
PQ, take it away, man.
No, let me defer to Nathan. Come on, Nathan.
Okay. Yeah, I would just say, like, you know, just standing on the Word of God is the biggest way to speak on social issues, you know. And I think, like, you know, so many people, like, kind of get bent up on, like, putting their opinion about a politician or a social issue on, like, Facebook or, you know, on social media and stuff. Or, you know, or even from, like, the pulpit or in a Bible study or something like that. But I think it's best done through, like, you know, a trust and a relationship and stuff. And then you can kind of explain it. You always got to go back to the Word of God, you know, with these types of things. And I think, like, as far as, like, our opinions, like, we all, like, have different backgrounds, maybe different experiences. So sometimes our opinions on some of the social issues, you know, it's not, like, directly spoken on in the Word of God about it. So I think you just got to really hold that loosely, you know, and know that, like, you know, at the end of the day, like Apostle Paul said, you know, he had all this knowledge and everything. He said, you know, of all these experiences, all these accolades he had. He was like, you know, I count it all rubbish compared to knowing Jesus. You know, I counted it all lost. All my knowledge about being a Pharisee and being a Hebrew and, you know, having all this stuff. He just said, you know, it's all rubbish compared to knowing Jesus. I think that's just pointing people back to Christ, you know. Because we could get fired up about certain social issues, fired up about certain politicians, things like that. But, you know, I'm just finding again and again. I'm trying not to get into apathetic because I do find myself sometimes with politics, sometimes with social issues, kind of becoming apathetic about some of those things. And, you know, we don't want to get there. And I think the way really is just to be focus on the gospel, the good news of Jesus, and speak on those issues, but let the good news of Christ, like, trump on those issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very good.
So there's my.
So
thank you, man. That's
you
good.
know, I deferred because I was hoping that, you know, Nathan and T, they both took everything away from me to say. So I was hoping that I would be filled with something at this point. No,
I'll piggyback on piggyback.
No, the fact is this.
Well, I
think that, you know, Jesus did something that obviously he is the best example that we have. And there were a lot of social issues. You know, you think about the woman at the well, at that situation, and there was a social issue that came out at that point. And between what the Jews versus the Samaritans thought about places of worship, and Jesus dealt with that. You know, he dealt with it, but he dealt with it from a very biblical perspective. And oftentimes, we think that because we deal with a situation in a biblical way, that we have to shoot people down. And I don't think that's the goal. The goal is to be loving. The goal is to find a way to attract. Again, going back to that thing that I was talking about earlier, we have to find a way to be attractive to people. We have to find a way. I think T, you said it well. You know, someone says that, you know, no matter what the thing, we may not agree with it, You don't have to run out and say, well, I don't agree with that, and you going to hell. That's the worst sin ever. Yeah. What is the worst sin ever? The worst sin ever is rejecting Jesus Christ as your personal savior. That's the worst sin ever.
Yeah.
Anything short of that is just sin, and which puts us, as you said again, we're all on equal footing. We all have the same place. So if we can take these social issues and be able to look at how we can creatively love people through the things that seem to be so negative. The idea is to come to people in angles that they don't expect. They already know that we have this opinion. They know what the Bible says. We're not educating them because we say God hates sin. Yeah, they know that. They know that. How can we love them in? See, the part that we miss is God so loved the world that he gave, okay? He gave his son. We forget about that part. We think about we need to, we got to tell them about sin. Absolutely. I agree, T. We definitely have to hold the standard. We need to make sure that people can work up to this point. But at the same time, we also have to reach down and show them love, because it was God's love that brought us all here. We're not here as a result of us being so clear and understanding about sin. We're here as a result of us being able to understand God's love and the fact that we were able to receive that love. Thank God that we're able to come in. It's so
awesome.
That's it.
Can
we make the connection?
That's it. All right, cool. We're at 8:30 now. I'm going to, I know 1-2 is coming in. We're just going to wrap up right here. And I think that I just want to thank you all, everyone that's been part of this, those who been able to participate on the side. And, for those who have been part of this discussion, from Nathan to Peque to T to One Truth, and for all of those of you in the chat room that have been very helpful and being engaged in this conversation. It's been a delight to be here. I think ultimately love is a principal thing. I think we can have all the gifts in the world, we can have all the greatest idea, but if we have no love for the people we're trying to reach, then it makes no sense. And then we cannot love unless we first understand Christ's love for us in the first place. So I think it's very important, and it all has to be in the context of relationship. When speaking to social issues, I always tell people, I don't want to give people sound bites. If I don't, some social issues I don't speak to unless I've actually had an opportunity to really speak to the person one-on-one. And I think we can speak in generalities, but I think sometimes many issues that we're trying to address, they have so much width and breadth to them. I can't do it in justice in just one interaction with a person. But ultimately, in the context of relationship, people can hear your heart and not just some soundbite. And I think that's where God wants us to be. So thank you guys all for being part of this. Urban Mission is our calling to the city, and we want to continue to do this. And much love for everyone that's been part of this. God bless you guys. And to kind of stay tuned to what we're doing throughout this whole anniversary for Hip Hope. Please, I put a link right there, our event page link from Facebook. We're going to be doing different things all the way to the 27th of this month. So please tune in, get connected, and we go from there. We probably have another live chart like this, very soon. Yeah. Thank you guys. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful night. Thank you guys.